Good day to everyone. My name is Patrick Shaw, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Ms. Christine Figueroa. Christine and I are both Protective Security Advisors, or PSAs, with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency under the Department of Homeland Security. Christine works out of Phoenix and covers all of Arizona, and I'm in Columbus, Ohio, covering Central and Northwest Ohio. Thank you for taking the time today to join us, and thank you to the Insurance Board for inviting us to participate on this webcast. Please note that if you have a question at any time during the webcast, you can enter the question in the chat room, where both your question and the response can be seen by everyone. The central focus of today's webcast is to introduce you to the security self-assessment that Cisa has developed specifically for houses of worship. But before Christine talks to you about the security assessment, I would like to give you a little background information about CISA and the PSA program. I would also like to set the stage for how you would use the self-assessment in conjunction with managing the risk at your houses of worship and practicing the principles of CISA's hometown security program. We'll conclude the webcast with a quick orientation of the CISA website, where you can find information on additional free products, yes, I said free, services and training available through our agency. CISA was established by legislation in November of 2018. While the agency is only 2 years old, many of the programs that make up CISA were previously part of the headquarters of DHS under the old National Protection and Programs Directorate. It's not often that you find field activities are managed directly under a major headquarters. TSA and the Coast Guard, for example, are both under DHS as well, but they are component organizations under the DHS umbrella that focus on their own specific missions. Likewise, the new CISA supports specific field activities engaging with public partners at all levels of government, public and private, including the faith-based communities. CISA personnel are in the field working with those partners every day, focusing on our 4 major mission areas. Those mission areas are federal network protection, proactive cyber protection, infrastructure resilience, and interoperable communications, so we never lose the ability to communicate effectively during emergencies. The vision of CISA is straightforward: secure and resilient lifeline infrastructure like energy, transportation, water, telecommunications, and healthcare facilities, those things that we need to live, but also other infrastructure like government facilities, including schools and commercial facilities, which includes the houses of worship. Our mission is to understand and lead the way towards managing the risk to our nation's critical infrastructure. We are the nation's risk advisors. Critical infrastructure is described as physical and cyber systems and assets that are so vital to the United States that their incapacity or destruction would have a debilitating impact on our physical or economic security or public health or safety. Approximately 85% of our critical infrastructure is controlled by the private sector. Through the Protective Security Program, PSAs engage with owners and operators of this critical infrastructure on a volunteer basis to assist in protecting them from adversaries and criminals and helping these vital assets and systems survive natural and man-made catastrophes. Currently, there are about 120 PSAs across the country, and I say currently because we are expanding, with at least 1 PSA in every state. PSA locations are based on the density of critical infrastructure in the state. CISA field elements are organized under 10 regional directorates. Christine is under Region 9, based out of Oakland, and I fall under the Great Lakes region, based out of Chicago. Each PSA manages their own district, sometimes covering thousands of square miles. You might ask, how can a PSA cover such a huge district? It's all about partnerships, getting to know and supporting the people that own the infrastructure, and getting those people to engage with others in their community and associations to help further the CISA mission. So how can your house of worship engage with PSA? Simply send an email to central@cisa.gov and request an assist visit. Be sure to provide your contact information and your location, and a PSA will contact you. During the pandemic, if an on-site visit isn't possible, start with a telephone conversation. During an assist visit, whether it's virtual or in person, the PSA will discuss with you products, services, and training available free for the asking. For your convenience, we've posted the central email address, central@cisa.gov, on the last slide of the webcast. When you meet with the PSA, as part of your initial discussion, the PSA will also ensure you are aware of the principles of risk management. We understand your limitations on time, talent, and treasure when it comes to security for your houses of worship. We want to ensure that you are protecting the most significant assets and areas of your facilities. Christine will also touch on this in a few minutes. Just remember, you can't protect everything, and maybe some assets and areas only need heightened protection at certain times. We'll help you understand what threatens your houses of worship, when and how you might be vulnerable to that threat. Once you understand your vulnerabilities and when they might cause you the most harm, then we can work with you to mitigate those vulnerabilities until your house of worship risk manager firmly concludes that you have the means to achieve an acceptable level of risk. If you do not have a risk manager at this time at your house of worship, we'll talk to you about that as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that when a PSA makes an on-site visit, they will be extremely interested in what written security and emergency action plans you have for your house of worship. Personally, I believe that a written security plan, along with the specific emergency action plans included, is one of the best investments that any house of worship can make. Every member of your congregation plays a role in his or her security and the security of their house of worship. When congregants have a security plan they can read, train on, and exercise on a regular basis, they will be well on their way to a safe and secure place to worship and socialize with their community. We stress that Homeland security starts with hometown security. Make the connections and partner with those in the community that can assist you, such as FBI InfraGard and local law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, emergency management, and your local Homeland Security office. Develop your security plans with your partners and train with your partners. If there is suspicious activity in the community, know where to report that. So now that I have you all warmed up and ready to start developing those critical security plans, I'm going to turn you over to Christine, and she's going to talk to you specifically about the security self-assessment. Take it away, Christine.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Hello, everyone. Planning is a very important step, and understanding your risk is key to protecting your facilities. The House of Worship Security Self-Assessment is designed to guide personnel at houses of worship through a security-focused self-assessment to understand potential vulnerabilities and identify options for consideration in mitigating those vulnerabilities. This self-assessment is a first step in building an effective security program. It is not intended to be an in-depth security assessment. After completing this process and addressing preliminary findings, houses of worship personnel may consider pursuing a more detailed security assessment to explore specific issues in greater detail. On this slide, for your convenience, is the link that goes directly to the self-assessment. My partner, Protective Security Advisor Shaw, will be navigating you through this website in a few minutes. We suggest that you either download the PDF file, put it in a binder, or save it to your computer, whatever is easiest for you to maneuver through, because there are 49 assessment questions that you will be answering. We also suggest that you enter the date on your assessment. The date is very important so that you can go back and see how you're improving as you mitigate the vulnerabilities you identified on that date. Each question has either 3 or 5 answers. Select the answer that most accurately represents your house of worship. An option for consideration will appear below the range of possible answers for each question based on your selected answer. You will also be provided background, references, and resources for each question for further information. The topics addressed on the self-assessment reflect assessment methodologies and recommended practices that physical security professionals in public and private sector roles use routinely. When filling out this self-assessment, consider significant areas and assets at your house of worship. Significant areas and assets may be critical components that support the facility's mission or unique elements of the facility. They may represent key vulnerabilities or areas of interest to an attacker. Potential significant areas and assets at a house of worship could include your sanctuary or primary gathering area, the most sacred part of a house of worship, where congregants gather for worship services, prayer, and other religious activities. Generally, the most populated area during meeting times, thus often an area for attack by an active shooter. Also, your fellowship hall, where congregants gather for meals, workshops, and other communal activities. This may include a kitchen and eating area, or serve even as a gymnasium. A financial office, where donations are stored during and after meetings. This may be targeted for theft. Religious exhibits, displays, artifacts, or symbols. It can be a permanent fixture of the facility or temporary for holiday or special events. This may be a target for vandalism or theft. Also, facility vehicles. This may be another critical asset for you, such as vans or buses belonging to the house of worship. These may be used to transport congregants and visitors to and from the facility, as well as off-site activities. These are just a few examples of significant areas and assets you may identify at your house of worship. The assessment contains several functional areas that focus on security and safety emergency management, perimeter security delineation, parking and barriers, access control and entry control, and closed circuit video and video surveillance systems. As you go through this assessment, you will also notice reference links. Houses of worship can use the results of this process in many ways as they partner to improve their security and risk management. These efforts include prioritizing potential security measures, reviewing best practices and available resources, and developing investment justification for internal budget processes or even external grant requests. When you go through the assessment, you're going to come up with options to consider, which I would call your to-do list. You can produce your own spreadsheet that identifies the category, vulnerability, and option for consideration. It is a way to develop your to-do list, which you will want to review this with your risk manager or designee to help prioritize the improvements needed. The next slide is an example of one of the questions, qualifying responses and option for consideration. And as you can see, below are the references. So the question reads, does the house of worship have a security manager or security committee to make security management decisions? This specific question comes from the category called Security and Safety Emergency Management. You have 5 ways you can answer this question: very low, low, medium, high, and very high. You will also see under the answer the corresponding option for consideration, which I would consider your starting point for improving security. And for continual improvements, just keep moving down the aisle to the right column. At the end of your self-assessment, you will have the to-do list. This example shows the category, vulnerability, and option for consideration. Each facility will be able to use the result of this self-assessment to evaluate the most impactful, cost-effective options to improve their overall risk profile. Now I will pass it over to Protective Security Advisor Patrick Shaw to walk you through the Cisa website. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for a good explanation on the security self-assessment tool. What I would like to do now, for those of you that are not familiar, I want to take a few minutes to introduce you to the CISA website. As you're listening to Christine while she was going through the self-assessment tool, you probably have some new terms and whatnot that you may not be familiar with. You may be looking for additional information. Maybe there's going to be some training that you're going to need to do that's going to be part of your to-do list. And so a lot of this information is going to be available to you as resources on our CISA website. And so I specifically want to show you how to drill down to the faith-based organization section so you can bookmark the location for specifically the self-assessment tool. CISA has tried to make the website a one-stop shop for the products, services, and training that are available to you. I'll show you a few places that I hope will interest you, but please browse the entire site to see what's there. And so now I'm going to kind of go through some clicks here, and hopefully you will be able to see on your monitors where you need to go in order to bookmark this CISA web page. So the first place I'm going to is actually going to be CISA, www.cisa.gov. And the first thing you should see should be our splash page for the CISA web page. Right at the top there, you'll see Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Now, it's important now, if you want to get back to this splash page, just go ahead and create a bookmark for that. And anybody that has never created a bookmark, just slide over to the right, and there's going to be a place in the upper right-hand corner where you can bookmark. It's a little bit different depending upon the browser that you're using, but they're fundamentally the same. So go ahead and make yourself a bookmark. Maybe even create a folder for yourself for CISA. And any other web pages you go to that are related to your self-assessment, you can stick into that folder. Now what you'll want to do is you'll want to scroll down to the first menu bar just under the CISA seal, and you'll see Cybersecurity, Infrastructure Security, Emergency Communications, National Risk Management, and then there's an About CISA and also a Media. You can go into any of these, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But for now, I want you to click on the Infrastructure Security. Click on that, and it will bring you up to the Infrastructure Security page. On the Infrastructure Security page now, you're going to have primarily a black banner that goes through the center, and it says Infrastructure Security. If you go down just underneath that, you'll see quick links. And in the second column of those quick links, you'll see Hometown Security. If you go ahead and click on Hometown Security, that will bring you up to the Hometown Security page. And right away, you should start to see some things that we talked about earlier as far as the Connect, Plan, Train report, securing soft targets. But if you go down this page to the bottom, lower right-hand corner, you'll see faith-based organizations, houses of worship. And you'll want to click on that, right on the blue highlighted faith-based organizations, houses of worship. Click on that. It now is bringing up a page that is devoted specifically to faith-based organizations and houses of worship. And this is an important area for you. So you might want to go up and create another bookmark just for this particular page so they can get you back there very quickly when you need to be in this area. And you'll see on the left-hand side, your Hometown Security, you'll see some menus and different things that you can easily click about on the web page. Once you're here, though, want to continue on down the page. Towards the bottom, you'll see Vulnerability Mitigation. And over to the right, there's a plus sign. Click on that plus sign. You'll see the first highlighted area in blue is FBO, HOW, and that is Faith-Based Organizations, Houses of Worship, Security, Self-Assessment. You'll want to click on that title, and it is going to bring up Houses of Worship, Security, Self-Assessment. And there is where you're going to be able to find the PDF file that Christine was referring to. And once you get into that file, you can either open it and work with it directly from there. I recommend, as Christine has recommended, download this and put it into a folder where you can work with it. It is a portable document file, so you're not going to be able to manipulate the file itself, but it is something where you can, if you have a clip tool or something like that, you might be able to clip those actual questions right out of there and put that into a separate Word document or a spreadsheet, something like that. So feel free to do that. So that was the main thing I wanted to show you as far as getting to the self-assessment tool and making sure that you knew how to get there. We've given you the address and whatnot, but a lot of times those things get lost. If you got these bookmarks, you can always go back. What I would like to do now is go back to where we were at the very beginning on the Cisa web page. So before we do that, Christine, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think you did a great job. Just all I would like to add, though, really, Patrick, is don't get discouraged. I know there's a lot of pages on this report that you can use, but please don't get discouraged. There's a lot of questions. Just go through them slowly, and it's very easy to walk through, and use the reference guides. Thank you.
Did you have any breaking news that you wanted to give them or anything like that, or did you want to save that for Christmas?
I have no breaking news right now. Thanks.
So now if we go back up to the Cisa web page, and again, we are just back, I'm just backing out of it myself, so I'm backing back up to the home page. There's just, again, a couple things that I just want to point out real quick. There's going to be the latest news from Cisa. It's always going to be on our front end splash page. And then I wanted to point out that we passed over cybersecurity before, and we went immediately to infrastructure security on that first menu bar. But cybersecurity is very important to you as well, as I'm sure you're all aware. You have web pages. You probably have business systems that are using information technology. You have maybe internal Wi-Fi's that are operating within your houses of worship. Cybersecurity is of the utmost importance. So don't hesitate to go into that cybersecurity folder and look at the services that are available to you there. Christine and I are both protective security advisors. We also have cybersecurity advisors that operate in almost identical capacity as we do. They cover districts. We don't have as many of them just yet, but we're working on that, and hopefully we're going to have a pretty robust core of cybersecurity advisors. But right now they do cover the entire country. You just may have to wait in line for some of their services, and some of their services may be prioritized to higher priority infrastructure before they're going to be able to get to dealing with you. But they will always be able to provide you with some of the products and information and fact sheets and things like that. And they will definitely be able to assist you in the event that you have a cybersecurity related issue. Cisa is there to help you with the mitigation of any type of cybersecurity incident. Your local law enforcement is a good place to start. If you have an attack or a hack on any of your systems, ultimately that's going to be turned over to the FBI, who is responsible for the investigation of cybersecurity incidents. We do mitigation. We help you fix it, get back to where you need to be. The FBI works with you to investigate that as a criminal activity. If you go back into the infrastructure security tab and you go back down to those quick links that I was talking about before, you're going to see that there's things in there called sector specific plans. As I mentioned earlier, you fall under the commercial facilities. There will be a commercial facility sector specific plan in there, but it's probably not going to refer specifically to houses of worship. In a minute, I'm going to talk to you about the Homeland Security Information Network, and I'll show you where some more specific information related to faith-based communities can actually be found. But if you look at these different type of headings that are here, again, you can click on any one of these quick links, and it can take you into additional information. We did not touch upon the insider threat mitigation. Insider threat, that's somebody that is in a trusted capacity in your house of worship, whether that's a congregant that comes weekly or more often than that, or it's somebody that's part of the staff, somebody that you need to be concerned about. We want you to recognize that these things do happen and that there is mitigation for that as well. In addition to this particular web page, the Cisa web page, I also wanted to take you over to the Fema web page. And so there's actually two Fema web pages that should be of interest to you. And they're displayed on the page for you. The first one I want to take you to is the ready.gov. And that shows you specifically, not tailored specifically to the faith-based organizations, but it does talk about other hazards and things like that that you need to be prepared for. So when I mentioned earlier, I was talking with you about emergency action plans. If you have a tornado, if you were to have high winds, if you were to have a snowstorm, FEMA can basically provide you with some additional information that's going to help you to develop plans to, again, mitigate the situation you may run into there. So as you work through your to-do list from your self-assessment, you'll find resources on the webpage to help you complete your objectives. Again, the FEMA websites, they're there as additional resources to you. Bookmark both the CISA and the FEMA pages so you have them as ready references, and please feel free to share them. That's about all I have right now as far as specifically walking you through the web pages. When your security plans are written and you have trained your congregants, CISA also has exercise support available to you. We have regional exercise coordinators in each of the 10 regions. We also have pre-developed exercises that you can tailor to your own needs, or we can help tailor to your needs. Remember that strong hometown security requires that you stay connected. We've already talked about connecting with law enforcement. Fusion centers were established since 2003 to support the protection of infrastructure. The 79 fusion centers across the country crosstalk daily. They're just back and forth all the time. Some are 24/7 operations, some are maybe 12 hours a day, but they're constantly communicating with each other. The analytical cells working in these centers are clearinghouses for taking in and reporting out information. See something, say something reports are processed in these centers, and hopefully all of you are aware of the national campaign on if you see something, say something. Again, there's no piece of information that's too small. Let the analysts work with that information. Let them do the research. Let them do the crosstalk with other fusion centers. Let them see if there's any nexus there to something that may be nefarious that's being planned. PSAs can introduce you to your nearest fusion center personnel. I'll address the faith-based information sharing and analysis organization on the next slide. The next two slides provide the website and information about the Homeland Security Information Network. This is DHS's primary tool for sensitive information sharing. There are hundreds of communities of interest, or we call them COI. Yeah, we have an awful lot of acronyms on this secure portal. At a minimum, get an account and join the faith-based information sharing and analysis organization. The faith-based community of interest on HSIN is where you share ideas, plans, and ask questions of other houses of worship. These are your peers. They have the same questions you do. Some of them may be a little further ahead than you are, or maybe someday you're going to be a little further ahead of them, and you can share your information with them. You may recall earlier I talked about partnerships. This is where you're building those partnerships. Once you have an established account on HSIN, check out the Critical Infrastructure Community of Interest for even more information that may interest you. This final slide of the website provides a sampling of the content on the Homeland Security Information Network. Christine and I have covered a lot of information today. We know you won't retain it all, but hopefully we've oriented you to where you can find the information on our webpage. And of course, you can always send your questions to central at cisa.gov. Before we sign off here, Christine, did you have anything else you wanted to tell us?
Okay, I do have something. I do have the surprise that you were going to mention, you wanted me to mention, and that is Cisa has come up with an interactive web-based tool. So you're not going to have to use, in the future, you will not have to use this paper PDF to do your self-assessment. Hopefully within this next year, you'll have an interactive tool, web-based, that will be able to be a lot easier to maneuver. It'll be online, and you'll be able to print your results out. So that's the great news. That is your holiday surprise, and I thank you all.
Thank you again for spending time with us today and letting us highlight important CISA resources. We look forward to our continued relationship with all of you. Please just reach out to us, central@cisa.gov. Thank you.